Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium General Manager of Long Meadow Ranch, Ted Hall.
Good evening, everybody. Well, when people go through the long list of Howard Lester's accomplishments, there's definitely a lot to cover. He turned Williams-Sonoma into a $3 billion juggernaut with 27,000 employees, 3 major brands, including Pottery Barn, 6 websites, 7 catalogs, and over 600 stores spanning North America and now the Middle East. But there's always one distinction in Howard's biography and accomplishments that people forget. Believe it or not, he came out of retirement to do all of that. Back in 1976, he was playing golf, and in his words, just puttering around. He had just sold Centrex, a highly successful software business he founded, and he had no reason to jump back into business. But once the allure of the links wore off, he realized he was itching to get busy. So it was at that time he came across a struggling little cookware retailer owned by a guy named Chuck Williams, who's actually here tonight. At that time, Williams-Sonoma was financially shaky, with about $4 million in revenue and $700,000 in debt, and most people would have taken a look at the books and passed. But Howard saw the potential and bought the company. That was the beginning of a wonderful partnership. Howard and Chuck traveled across the US and Europe, visiting kitchen stores for ideas and searching for new wares to sell under the Williams-Sonoma brand. Everybody has probably heard some of the stories that occurred along the way, but there's one in particular I'd like to share with you right now. It's probably apocryphal, but you'll get the point. So Chuck was taking Howard on his first buying trip to Europe, and Howard, of course, was very excited. So he went to the associates in the Williams-Sonoma store in Beverly Hills and said, "Tell me what we need here so that I can mention it to Chuck on the trip. I want to sound like I know what I'm talking about." The only item he could remember, though, once he got to Europe, was a caviar server. You know, those little platters with little spots for vodka and a middle place for the caviar and a caviar knife. And every night Howard would mention to Chuck, "When are we going to see the caviar servers?" So you can only imagine what Chuck was thinking. So one night, I believe the guys were in Florence, they were having a drink, and Howard knocked a couple back, and he told Chuck, "Listen, you might know a lot about cooking, but you don't know a lot about entertaining. You got to let me help you with this." So they got to Paris, and one day they walk into this massive showroom of different types of kitchenwares, and Chuck turns to Howard, holding the caviar server, and says, "Is that what you had in mind?" And excitedly, Howard said, "Yeah, so how many should we buy?" And Chuck said, "I don't know, I defer to you." So Howard ended up buying 24 of them. They didn't sell any of them. After that, Chuck and Howard made a deal. Chuck wouldn't hire anyone, and Howard wouldn't buy anything. That's why their partnership worked so well for so many years. Chuck opened Williams-Sonoma because of his love for cooking. Howard bought it, expanded it, and as it turned out, Howard had a great eye for merchandise too. He made it into what it is today because of his love for building brands and making customers happy. How else do you explain Howard's desire to read every customer letter and comment card? Or instead of focusing on inventory levels or website clicks, he would ask, "How many customers did we fail to satisfy today?" Or why he made literally thousands of personal visits to the stores. However, the most significant and mostly hidden story is the unique culture that Howard built within the company. He harnessed the energy of a highly diverse, creative, sales, and operational team by empowering each one of them. At Williams-Sonoma, you are not an employee. You are an associate. And Howard meant it. Think about it. At Williams-Sonoma, every single associate feels empowered to serve the customer as if he or she owned the company herself. And then there are Howard's 7 rules. These are the core ideas that started on Howard's yellow pad and today guide the actions of thousands in the Williams-Sonoma family. The rules cover topics like the necessity for vision as a leader, that arrogance is a terrible thing, the importance of being self-critical, and of course, the recognition that without customers, nothing matters. This is Howard's true legacy. Today, Williams-Sonoma and Pottery Barn are among the most respected brands, up there with Coke, Nike, and GM, because Howard would accept nothing less. And here in the Bay Area, we're lucky to have borne witness to this in the company's success over all these years. We're of course proud that the company has office buildings and thousands of employees here in the Bay Area. We're excited to see Howard's influence emerge in the students that graduate from his Lester Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation at UC Berkeley. But most of all, we're thankful for how he's touched all of our lives over the years. He's inspired us to look at our homes in a different way. He's an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, and most certainly a friend. And he's the proverbial cook that none of us will ever kick out of the kitchen or our home. With that, it is with great pleasure that I introduce Howard Lester, a 2010 inductee to the Bay Area Business Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Ted.
You're welcome, Howard.
Thank you so much.
We'll put it back over here.
Okay. Well, thank you. 32 years ago or so, when I came to San Francisco, I never dreamed that I'd be getting this kind of recognition and award from people as important as you here in the Bay Area. That's particularly true, Rob, after listening to you and your accomplishments. Mine are going to be brief by comparison. But I do want to thank, first of all, the council for your thoughtfulness and for this recognition. And Ted, thank you so much for your comments and your introduction. These things are interesting. The older you get, the more you get. I told Mary the other day, I've got to quit getting these. I can't afford them anymore. But I did retire in May, and this time it's permanent. Chuck, I left the company in good hands. Chuck is 94, and he promised me that he'll be around for another 20 years. I never thought Chuck would outlast me, but he did. This life that we're so fortunate to live gives us many blessings. And I think perhaps the greatest one I've had, certainly in my business life, has been over these past 30 years to work with such a talented, passionate, committed group of people. I just can't imagine interacting each day with a group that is more talented than our guys. Now, I know the guys at Google have done a bit better from a financial point of view. But nevertheless, I feel that way. I think we've got one of the great workforces in America, and of course, any awards that I may get or recognition only come about because of my association with them. They're a very special group. I just want to say one thing that struck me this evening as I listened to Rob and the earlier comments, and was talking to Dean Lyon over at the Haas School. It seems to me with all of the talk that's on television now about how to create jobs and how important that is, and I have all this time now to listen to Fox Business. So, and every day they spend hours and hours talking about unemployment and creating jobs and so on, and I don't think that I've yet heard a positive idea about how to create one single job. That's not a political comment, unless you choose to take it that way. I thought I might get a little applause here with that. But if you think about it, and you look at the creativity and the talent that is bred by our incredible education system in this area, and the commitment of its leaders, and the successes that we've had, and the support that we've had with people like Rob and all of the other venture capital people here, Warren Hellman and so many of you here who've supported these young people with their fledgling ideas that turned out to be world-class ideas. If people would just listen to that and study that, they'd learn something about how to create jobs in this country. And I wish that we could get more attention to that over the next few years, because that's where we're going to have to look. It's not going to be developed in the halls of the buildings in Washington, D.C. So, in any event, I'll stick to my 3-minute time limit, Dick. And thank you once again for coming and for this recognition. It's one that I'll always remember and be very, very proud of. So thank you very much.